Ben,
Ed?
we're finally starting.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to the Whiskies and Weebs podcast. I am Ed.
And I'm Ben.
This is an anime podcast where we, unsurprisingly, talk about anime and our passion topics.
Yep. And we drink whiskey.
That's right. So this is the pilot episode. And we're making a kind of a overview episode. We have a whiskey review, an anime recommendation, followed by a segment covering Ben's topic,
Which is going to be sociology.
then followed by my topic, fitness.
Right. So, we are two weebs, and our taste in anime is very much reflected by our respective topics of interest. So,
Yeah, it's kind of dichotomous. I'm the shonen guy, and he's the seinen guy. It's a very long story of how this podcast began, but it's mainly because we kind of wanted to stop paying for alcohol. We're desperately hoping to get enough viewership such that we can get sponsors to drink alcohol.
yeah. But speaking of alcohol, why don't we get to the whiskey review? What do we have today?
So, today we have a Kyushu Cowboy Shinozaki. So, the Kyushu Cowboy Shinozaki is it's made from barley as the main grain, and then it was put inside oak barrels in order to mature. So, we can kind of expect a mildly peated taste to this, and because it's made of barley is generally a bit more sweet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of taste that we can get from this whiskey here. Ben, what are your expectations?
Right, because of the charred oak barrel, I'm expecting there to be a bit of that charred barrel flavor, and yeah, that's what I'm really looking for in my whiskeys.
Have you tried any other Japanese whiskeys?
No, the only one that I've tried is the Nika, and I can't say that I'm too fond of those. So yeah, I haven't had a good impression of Japanese whiskey so far.
I've definitely had a very weird encounter. I've tried a EY single grain or single malt whiskey.
How
That
did it
tasted like banana.
Oh,
So
wow.
can you imagine?
That would be very unique, I would expect.
Alright, let's get started and pour our very first tasting of the Kyushu Cowboy Shinozaki. We're starting off neat.
All right.
Ben, let's try our Kyushu Cowboy.
Right.
Neat.
Let us
Cheers. Now that is a powerful smell. Very strong, nice and sweet. Almost smells like rum.
Oh, it goes on quite smooth. Get a hint of the spice is not overpowering at the start.
It goes down smooth indeed. Lightly salty, lightly sweet.
Not
Very
much
mellow
of
on the taste buds.
not much of that vanilla aftertaste. But
Yes, it lacks the characteristic sweetness that I was expecting from a shochu whiskey, which is what the Kyushu Cowboys generally are.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Salted caramel.
Salted caramel?
Yeah. Oh, my favorite flavors of ice cream.
It's missing that distinct oakiness that you would expect from a whiskey that has been matured in a oak barrel.
Yeah.
However, I'm not complaining. It goes down easy.
It definitely goes down very easy.
What would you say about the aftertaste?
It's very light. It doesn't really have a lingering aftertaste. Not much, I would say.
Yeah, it dissolves and becomes a bit like water. A very lightly salted water.
It does indeed.
Overall, very pleasant to drink. Not too overpowering flavors. 7 out of 10.
I would say 8 out of 10. Quite good for someone getting into whiskey.
And that wraps our review of it neat. So let's get to our anime recommendation of today.
So we are starting off the series with Grand Blue.
Everyone's favorite diving manga.
Yes, of course. It's all about diving, isn't it?
Yep. Whether it's diving into a sea of alcohol, a sausage fest, or the ocean, in actuality, It's up to you to decide.
Well, let's just hope that is the right one.
Yes, so let's cover Granblue's its context a little. The premise, yes, that's the right term I was looking for. So Granblue is set in a college setting, Japanese university. The main character, Kitahara Iori, is a college freshman. And the story starts with him going to Izu Peninsula to start his college life at Izu College. And it's over there when he comes to board with his uncle at a diving shop called Granblue. Aha! Title drop right there.
Right.
Where he runs into a bunch of college seniors known as PAB. And it's his entry into a wonderful world of black sensor circles and water with an alcohol percentage of 96%.
Plenty of things to be envious about. Yeah, that's just a joke. But yeah, he's entering into uni as a freshman, and I can assume that most of the viewers today are uni students themselves. I won't say freshmen, but we've all had that experience, coming into uni and stumbling onto the drinking scene. If you are so prolific in your camp days.
Well, yes. So Granblue is actually quite I would say it's a stellar comedy. It does the college humor themes very well. The main focus of most of the gags happen based on misunderstandings, the usual alcoholic rampages. Is that a good way to put it?
Let's just keep it at that, why don't we? Yeah, it can get a little bit questionable at times, but yeah,
Yes.
It's all in good humor, I guess.
I do think the Granblue manga is actually a good representation of the anime that we would like to represent us. It has all the elements that we find very relatable. Drinking alcohol,
Partying,
Yeah.
with the club.
university life. That's another one.
About it.
And a bit regrettably, hanging out with dudes. Literally the two of us right here. With that said, Granblue has both an anime and a manga series, as well as a live action adaptation. I do strongly recommend that if you're interested in picking up a nice, wholesome,
Questionable, but at least something relatable.
yes,
Yeah.
a nice, wholesome anime to start your day, start your week. You can always just search the funny moments online. I recommend Granblue.
All right. Sounds like something you would recommend to uni students since it's so relatable. Yeah.
Alright, and that's a wrap for the anime review.
All right. So Ed, what do you think the whiskey with a rock would taste like?
It might actually just taste the water now.
Sounds about right. It was quite mild even before adding the
Alright, with that said, let's have it on the rocks.
Yeah, let us. It actually brings out the flavor a lot more. It
Yeah,
tastes a
surprisingly
lot
so.
sweeter.
The sweetness is mildly intensified by the addition of the ice.
And the aftertaste actually lasts a lot longer. Yeah, it's surprising.
This is a most unexpected, but definitely a welcome modification. It comes from the addition of a rock to this glass. Fantastic.
Yeah, the saltiness actually blends very well with the sweetness. I am enjoying this quite a lot.
Yes, indeed, Ben. With all that said, shall we get started on today's sociology topic?
Oh yes, my favorite. So, what topic do you think we're doing today?
Inoculate me. Hit me up.
So have you heard of this quote? It starts with all the world's a stage.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, I'm glad you know. So essentially, the idea of Shakespeare's quote, all the world's a stage, is that we are all performers on it, acting out certain roles. Everything is just a performance. And that's essentially what our sociological topic today is. So,
Fantastic.
yes, we'll be looking through a dramaturgical lens today and with the theory of the looking glass self. So, the study of dramaturgy, which was pioneered by Goffman, proposes that just like a Shakespearean theatre, we are all on a theatre stage performing our roles to an audience. So we in our everyday life perform our roles. So us as a student and our teachers to us, and we represent this audience in our mind as well. So it may not be a physical audience, such as to your classmates, but you also have an imagined audience that your classmates would take and react to you in your own mind, which is mind-blowing, yes. But yeah, so each audience and each performance will require us to play different roles. So for example, at home you play the role of a son, maybe for some of you a breadwinner, and for in school you would play the role of a student and a team member, perhaps.
I just said that I was a very bad student. And the only Shakespearean work that I know is A Midsummer's Night Dream.
No worries, everyone hates Shakespeare and we all know it deep down. But yeah,
I think Macbeth rhymes with McDonald's, but only the first syllable.
Alright, so yeah. So to perform a role, each audience and performance will we require a few steps. Yeah. So first we must imagine how we appear to others. So how would you appear to your peers in school?
Right now, drunk. Sauced.
Well, most of the time you do appear quite drunk, so yeah. I mean, you don't have to act it up, you can just be. So that would be the first step.
Well, in the infamous words of Shakespeare, I believe you said all the world's a stage, so
Hey,
acting is perpetual.
perhaps it's an act as well. Who knows? Who is the real Edward? But anyways, the next step would be to imagine how these individuals in our audience that we imagine would react to our performance, and we adapt to how we imagine them reacting to us, which is 200 IQ. But yeah, that is the second step, and we all do this in our everyday lives without even a second thought. And the final step would be that we develop this identity, this persona that we portray over time, and these ideas of who we are portraying eventually become ourselves.
I'm the realest of the real, that's all I can say. So, I think I need an example. Can you use like an anime to describe this
Of
concept
course.
of dramaturgy?
So let us go back to Graham Liu.
Alright. First, perhaps a drink.
A drink. So when in a new environment, we tend to be unable to imagine a role that we are supposed to perform. So let's say for the new freshmen that are entering uni, you wouldn't be too sure of what role a uni student is supposed to play, how you're supposed to act in class or even around your friends. Maybe you haven't stayed in hall before, so how are you supposed to act in hall parties where there's a lot of drinking going on and a lot of card games going on? So that is a very tough situation, and that's where we find our main character, Iori, to be in. So when he first stumbles upon the scenery of black sensor bars or black sensor circles, that's essentially what he felt. The inability to create an imagination of how he is supposed to portray himself and how he'll imagine the rest to react to him, because God knows that the sausage fest isn't gonna be something that you can react to on the fly. Yeah. But yeah, so from there, we can see that he tries to portray a certain image that he believes would be the best for him to fit into the society, which is his university life, which will be that of a good conservative student, not participating in the
Debauchery.
yeah, let's just put
Spicy.
it at that. So yeah, that is how he portrays himself. But whether or not that is his true self, is a question for the philosophers, which we will not go into. So after the first half of the episode, we see him get forced, albeit, into a drinking session with the seniors, where he gets, to put it mildly, shit-faced.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that, we can see that his character starts to break down. So, how we explain this is that this imagining and the adapting to our imagination actually takes up a lot of mental capacity. Like, you would not imagine it as something that would take up a lot of energy to do so, because we do it in our everyday lives. Like, we do not think for a second about how we portray ourselves to our classmates or how they would react to us. It comes to us naturally, but it actually does take up a lot of energy. And when you consume alcohol, it actually inhibits this ability, our mental faculties, and causes us to be unable to manage this imagining and reacting to the imagination. So it brings out a more natural, per se, side of us, where we just react to the situation without too much consideration of how we are perceived by our peers. So that's what happens in the second half, where he gets piss-faced and starts participating in the naked festivities of the PAB. Yeah. So after a while, you can see that he doesn't really give a shit about his portrayal of his role.
Conservatism, the portrayal of such.
It is a portrayal, and he joins in the festivities. Yeah. Festivities. So, well, it might be a problem in many situations if we can't perform a role like we believe we should in a workplace or in public. We must also note that most of our performances of these roles also function as a barrier, preventing us from acting on our impulses when interacting with others. So let's say you're in class, and your imagination of the role of a student will be someone who is studious, attentive in class, and does not act out weirdly, however you might put it. And yeah, that would be how you imagine yourself as a student, or how would you imagine yourself in public?
Perhaps we could go back to the student part. So sure. We'd say that there's a limitation based on the knowledge that you have when it comes to acting against the norm. So if, let's say, you were asked a question and you did not know the answer to the question, is it better to just quietly bow down, or do you make an attempt? Although in my case it would be a foolish attempt to try and answer the question for the sake of participation.
Hey, no worries. Smoking is a skill that is highly valued in my field, so I believe you would be very welcome here.
Three mental images popped to my head. All three of them are undesirable. I'm not too sure what you mean. But carry on.
No worries. So, yeah, in most situations, you would imagine that these portrayals of something other than what you imagine a student to portray would be undesirable. But alcohol changes things. It inhibits our ability to create this perception and to portray this perception, which brings out a more natural side to us. And since this portrayal of something that is imagined is something that is unnatural, however you may put it, this may be a problem when attempting to create meaningful and more intimate social ties with others. So if I were to portray myself as very professional with you, like, right, Edward, so today I'm a sociologist and you're a sports science student, how will we act this out? So in such cases, it would be very hard for us to create these intimate ties and social relations with others, and it might lead to a negative reaction from others, which would lead us to avoid engaging them more openly. So this is what happens when Iori enters on the PAB, enjoying the festivities initially, and he is tempted to distance himself from them. Yeah, but by the power of alcohol, or at least with a sufficient amount of it,
Yes.
he can break down these ties. Break down these barriers, not ties, and tear down the facades that we put up, and allow us to know each other better.
So the magical effect of alcohol is social lubricant.
Yes, that is the whole point that I'm trying to make here. Well, of course, there is a caveat that we should drink responsibly, since too much inhibition of our mental faculties might result in us doing things that might cross the line. So, yeah, at least when there are individuals that may be uncomfortable with these actions, just put it that way. So, yeah.
Example.
Yeah, don't go full AOT Titan on your friends. I don't think they will appreciate that much.
Yes, and black censor circles do not actually exist in real life.
Unfortunately. But yeah, that sums up my sociological take on Grand Blue.
Fantastic. Okay, now let's try the Kyushu Cowboy with a mixer.
Alright.
So we all know that whiskey often goes well with Coke. Us being the hypocritical health nuts that we are using Coke Zero. So
Yes.
that we can get the absolute worst taste out of it, but at exact same price.
Exactly.
Now, let's give it a shot.
Alright.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Not bad. It's like a lighter, more subdued vanilla Coke.
Yeah, you can't really. It's not really standing out in the Coke, the taste. No, I do quite like the salty aftertaste. The finish.
If anything, it just made the Coke slightly saltier. I think it's reasonable. Oh no, I think it blends well. It doesn't overpower anything. It just produces that much lighter vanilla Coke flavor that you would normally not expect.
It makes it go down smooth. Yeah, this is just a very smooth drink overall. It's not too overpowering. It's blended very well. It's just right.
Alright, fantastic.
Alright, so we'll be moving on to our fitness topic, which is taken by Edward.
Yeah, hit me up.
Alright, so what are your thoughts on exercise and exercising in general?
Alright. Exercise, the action is what I'll be covering today. So I have to make this a bit clickbaity. So in order of Classroom of the Elite Season 2 being released in recent time, I'll be making a quick throwback to the ending of Season 1. So in the immortal words of Iono Koji, or Iono God as most people would call him, all people are nothing but tools. To me, the exercise guy here, exercises are nothing but tools. It's all about the ideology of it. The very same principle that people are nothing but tools can be applied to exercise. You can bear some attachment to what an exercise is because you like how it feels. However, at the very end of the day, what you need to realize is that exercises are literally a means to an end. Whether that end is increasing your strength, increasing your muscle size, losing fat, whatsoever, is a fitness exercise outcome that you're looking for. So perhaps I could give a little bit of a personal example. Maybe about 10 years ago, back when I was 14. So there was this kind of like ideology or thought going on around in the PE teachers. So they said that before you do the exercise called the bench press, you should be able to do push-ups.
No, I have not heard of that ideology before.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a very antiquated bro sciencey ideology with regards to training. It's kind of like earn your right to do an exercise, be qualified to do something.
Yes, the citation, bro, just trust me.
Exactly. With that said, so in 2017 there was this article on T Nation. Yeah, I visited there a lot in the past. With I'm not gonna say exactly who's the person, but you can just search the key term push-up. So a rather famous person nowadays has said that, hey, you should be able to do 10 push-ups before you are qualified to do bench press.
Oh, qualified.
So is it funny how this like post in 2017 corroborates my experience in 2014?
I mean, you would expect it to, I guess.
Yeah, it's about
Hearsay?
It's about ideology.
Yeah.
Is that people hold some exercise to a vaunted standard, and that's why you create this kind of like gatekeeping exercise beforehand, a lot of the push-ups and the bench press.
That's right, everybody. Question ideology. Don't believe everything you hear.
Yeah, so my personal experience relates more to how I did the exact opposite of what is in bro talk.
Okay.
That how I got to be able to do push-ups was by doing bench press.
Oh, that is the exact reverse of it.
Yeah, so something that most people do not exactly know, or would probably not know unless they know me, is that when I was 14 years old, I was exceedingly chunky. I was severely obese.
I can remember those times.
Yeah, I think at the time I ranged anywhere from 110 to 120 kilos.
Now, how much do you weigh now?
100.
Oh, that is a significant improvement.
Yeah, to give a bit of a height context, my height has only grown about 3 centimeters since then. For people who do not use metric units, that would be about 1.5 inches.
Right.
So I stand at 185 now, 1.85 cm, and in the past about 1.2. So you could tell, yeah, I'm a tall guy and I'm a chunky guy. I think to most people it would be kind of obvious that, hey, this really fat dude isn't going to be able to do push-ups. However, I happen to participate in a certain club that require you to do tons and tons of push-ups.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a uniform group. I'm not gonna say
yes. The push-ups, the only currency in uniform groups.
Yeah. With that said, it's not like a guy who, extremely sedentary, severely overweight. It's not like you can just off the bat, you whack and you are able to do push-ups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I harnessed as much of my monkey brain as time could and searched online how to get stronger. And so part of that personal experience includes this program. It's called Strongest 5x5.
Oh.
I know, literally all the boomers of the internet are like screaming, yeah, strong limbs, Arno. I know, but it was through doing bench press and overhead press in this program that, hey, I could actually start at a weight that I could do, rather than start with my 110 kilo body as the baseline weight. And so as I started working my way up from like the empty bars, 20 kilos, to maybe about 40 kilos, that was like, bam, I could do one push-up.
Oh, that is an improvement. The first one is always the hardest.
Right? When previously for like 2 years prior, I can't even do a single push-up. And what solved it? It's bench press.
That goes against all conventional wisdom as far as it goes.
I mean, it goes against bro science conventional wisdom.
Bro science.
That said, the progression then started increasing as I started being able to do my first push-up. I kept doing bench press and my bench press went up. When I was at maybe 50 for 5x5, then I could do 10 push-ups. At that point, I was sufficiently strong enough to do push-ups for actual training, and I started blending both of them. Before I know it, the bench press was at like hovering around 60 something, and it was coming to like 2013. And so at that point I could already do 20 push-ups and sets of it.
Wow.
Shocking. My
That
weight
is-
barely even dropped that much. It dropped from maybe 110 to 100. That's about it.
That is not, well, 10%. That's about 10%. That's quite significant.
Relativity.
Relative. Yeah.
So, yeah. How does this all like come together? Exercise is a tool to develop fitness. I initially brought up the point that hey, emotional attachment to exercise. So, I want to address the fact that people feel emotional attachment to exercises. That is true. Lots of dudes love push-ups because it's easy to get going. Some dudes love pull-ups. Some people love squats. Some people love bridging, anything. And then I'm not even going to go into the many hundreds of other exercises out there.
You know what my favorite sports is?
Using your fingers on the phone.
Esports, that's right. Hey.
Close enough. Close enough. So, in spite of the fact that you have emotional attachments to certain exercises, you should never ever forget that, hey, the exercise always exists to serve you as a tool to improve your fitness. And that you shouldn't hold vaunted standards like being qualified to do exercises based on a previous premise. At the end of the day, you're just meant to use them as you can and as is suitable to your environment to develop your fitness. That is a way of looking at exercise.
It seems like you're taking a very meta-analysis of exercises, going beyond what the exercise actually does to what the exercise actually means within the scope of a wholesome training regimen.
Perhaps analysis is not the right term for it. Perhaps a meta perspective is the right term to it. So, the meta perspective that I have on exercise is that meta by itself means above or about something. So, an exercise is a collection of movements. And in order to understand these movements, you first need to understand what they are in isolation before how they are in combination in the form of exercise. You need to understand muscles, joints, and anatomy. Well, muscles and joints are part of anatomy, yes, but it's how they operate in anatomical movements. One easy way of looking about it is you can see life in two-dimensional. So you have planes that the body parts operate in. These three planes, you can think of it as an X, Y, and Z axis. I'll just go through the names of the three planes of planar movements in anatomy. So,
sure. Inform us about it.
Alright, so the first plane, the most common plane, is the sagittal plane. The sagittal plane is what happens if I were to look at you as I am now. I'm looking at your body from its side. Then there is the frontal plane. As the name implies, it would be if I looked at you from your front. And the last plane is the transverse plane. So the transverse plane would be if I were to chop you in half and look from above.
Right, that sounds scary.
Yep. If you look at a grappler Baki or Baki Do, the way of Baki, I think 2018, you'll find a very good example of all these planes. You just need to be able to tolerate gore.
Let's put that for another time. I don't know if I can stomach thinking about my stomach in the open.
Yep. With that said, I hope that you come away with the understanding that, hey, exercises are tools. You should be able to use them and fit them for the occasion in order to achieve an outcome. You can have your emotional attachments, but don't let it ever override the fact that, hey, you're just doing a collective physical movement in order to achieve an outcome. Alright?
That's a very practical take on exercise.
Indeed.
Alright, so that rounds out our episode for the pilot.
Hey, fantastic. That didn't take too long.
That was sufficiently succinct, and I think we've brought across what our fields of study really focus on. And I hope that you're interested in finding out more about these rather niche fields of study. If you're here, if you would like to know more about these topics, stick around. We'll be reviewing other animes, and we'll also be linking some of our favorites into our analysis using some of the topics that we have learned during our study of our courses. Yeah.
With that said, like and subscribe.
And drink responsibly.